Hi guys, I'm working on my build at the moment, and as a part of that build I need to get myself a decent amulet. Now there is a way to craft this, so I wanted to post a video today on how you go about doing that. Obviously it's RNG based and it isn't necessarily worth the effort if you can just buy one. However, as you can see, they're going for about 40 divine at the moment. This particular type, which has increased evasion rating on it, and this particular type with increased energy shield, are going for about 11 divine. So ideally you want to be building the type with evasion rating on it. I think the reason for that being is evasion's a little bit harder to get on the crit monk build, which is what I'm going with, the hollow palm. But I think this would work on a number of monk builds, whether you're going hollow palm or if you're using a quarterstaff. So these are quite popular at the moment and in high demand, so I'm going to go through the crafting process for this. So we're going to be using omens, we're going to be using a decent base. So in terms of these mods, we'll aim for this one because it's, as I say, I think it's more valuable in the evasion, that is of more importance than the energy shield version of it. So the energy shield version of it and the evasion version of it are pretty similar. There's just one small change in terms of the way that you craft it. So I'll go through that in a minute, but we're going to go for this evasion version of it. So to get this line here, you can see here it says Elements. Now I'll bring this up. These are all Elements mods. I'll put a link in the description so that you can go through this yourself. So this is on Game Rant, but it's got a full list of all the different mods. So you've got Ullerman, Kurgle, and the other one who I've forgotten the name of. But we're looking at this here. So this is it says here, this is Ullerman mod, and it is a prefix. So increased evasion rating from equipped body armor, that's the one we want. A prefix Ullerman, so that's important to remember. So to get this line here, you need an Ullerman mod and it needs to be a prefix. So to do that, you want to be using this omen, so the omen of the sovereign, which is going to give you a guaranteed Ullerman mod. You want to use this, the omen of sinistral necromancy, which is going to give you a guaranteed prefix, and obviously the preserved collarbone, which desecrates a rare amulet, ring or belt. When we actually go to the well to activate that desecration, we're going to be using this, the omen of abyssal echoes, which allows us to re-roll the option once. That's just going to give us a little bit more of a possibility of getting the mod that we want. And if it does go wrong, there is an omen that you can use to remove the mod. I don't know the price on it at the moment. In fact, let's just check quickly. I imagine these are going to be quite expensive. Yep, so they're about 220 exalt at the moment. Orb of Annulment will remove only desecrated modifiers when you use this. So if you do go to the well, you use your reroll chance, you don't get what you want, and you see value in removing it still, then you can do this. But we'll go through the crafting method now anyway. So I've got a little set of instructions here. I think this is the most efficient way of doing it. I could be wrong. There is an element of luck involved, as with any crafting, so chances of you hitting are slim, but I'd say it's still worth going for because the majority of these components are quite cheap. So what you need to start with is something like this, either a solar or stellar amulet, ideally with a perfect implicit roll, ideally with +3 to level of all melee skills. Now I know this one's got +2, but I haven't bought a +3 one yet. Those in and of themselves are quite expensive. A +3 with another good roll. And it's got to have either maximum energy shield on it, ideally tier 1. So this is tier 1. As I say, the level to melee is tier 2, but let's just pretend it's a tier 1 as well. And then what you want to do with that, once you've got that, also if it's got T1 critical chance or T1 critical damage, they are also good. Although I would say ideally your perfect base would be this one with energy shield and plus to melee. What you would then do is regal that. Now you don't need to use a perfect regal. You can, in theory, use a perfect regal to try and hit the crit damage or the crit chance. But I wouldn't bother. The reason for that being is whatever you regal here, so I've got 33% to cold resistance, you will be removing with a perfect essence of enhancement. So what the perfect essence of enhancement does is it will give you increased global defenses, but it will remove one of the mods to get that. So if you've got 3 mods, in theory anyway, you've got a 1 in 3 chance of getting rid of the mod that you don't want. So I've got plus 33 to cold resistance here. So I'm not going to remove that because this isn't a plus 3 and I actually need cold resistance at the moment. But in theory, your next step would be to use a perfect essence of enhancement, which would then remove the cold resistance or whatever you've rolled there with your regal, and that would then give you a guaranteed increased percentage to global defenses. The next step then is to use your preserved collarbone. So to use this thing, let me just move that over a bit, to use this thing to desecrate your amulet. So when you desecrate it, you either want to get evasion or energy shield buff, which, as I explained before, is either an Omen or a Kurgle mod. They're both prefixes, these things. So we also want the Omen of Sinistral Necromancy, which will only roll prefix mod. And we want the Omen of Abyssal Echoes, this one, for when we actually go to the well. So we're not using that now, but when we get to the well, we're going to use that. And so as it says, while this item is active in your inventory, the next time you reveal desecrated modifiers, you can re-roll the option. So it won't apply here, it will just apply when we get to the well. So I'm not, as I say, I'm not going to bother doing the perfect essence of enhancement, because honestly at this stage of the game I am alright with this amulet as it is. So if I cock this up and I get rid of that +2 or I get rid of the energy shield, it's really going to screw my build. So I'm just going to roll with this for the time being. But as I say, ideally where it says cold resistance there, that would say increased global defenses. So we're going to use the Ullerman mod because we want evasion, and we're going to use the Sinistral Necromancy because we want a prefix, and then we're going to use the Desecration on the amulet. That should consume both. I've never done this before, so I don't know, but that should consume both of those omens. Yeah, so it's consumed both of them. So I'm definitely going to get a prefix, and I'm definitely going to get an Ullerman mod. And as I mentioned before, this is the mod that we want. Ullerman's increased evasion, and it's a prefix. Right, so next step, we're going to go to the well. Now, before we do this, as I say, we've got to be careful. We've got to make sure that this thing is activated so that if we don't get the rolls that we want, we'll get a re-roll chance. So we're going to use that, and then we're going to put this in the well. So here we go. Fingers crossed we get the evasion mod. Here we go, guys. Wish me luck. Oh, we got it. Okay, increased evasion from equipped body armor. That is absolutely fantastic, and I slightly regret not using that perfect essence now because I wasn't expecting to hit. But we've hit, so we're going to take this. It is still going to consume the omen for the re-roll, but it doesn't matter because we don't want to re-roll this. We've hit first time, so that's perfect. There's no point in re-rolling that to get a higher percentage. I think that does go up to 50, but there's really no point in this instance. Okay, there we go. So we've got energy shield, we've got +2 to melee, the cold resistance, you know, I may live to regret that, and the increased evasion rating from equipped body armor. That's already a really, really good amulet, and it's not going to be worth 10 plus divine because it's not +3, but still, for my build at this point in the game, that is fantastic. Okay, on to the next stage. So let's go back to base. Okay, so now we've got the amulet that we wanted. We need to, by some pure miracle, roll T1 crit hit chance and T1 critical damage bonus. I would use perfect exalted orbs here, but they are expensive, so let's just check the price on those. Okay, so yeah, they're 215 exalt at the moment, which I just don't have. And also, as I say, because it's not a perfect amulet, it's not really worth the gamble. Again, I may live to regret this. I may have made some mistakes here, but we're going to run with this, and we're just going to use normal exalted orbs. We could actually go for the mid exalted. Let's have a look at the price of those. So greater exalted orb. Okay, so they only cost around 4. So I think it's worth the gamble here. I'll spend 8 exalt because if I do hit, I'm going to massively regret not using a greater otherwise. So let's buy these, and then we're going to roll our amulet, and fingers crossed we get double crit rolls. Okay, I didn't really think about this, but because cold resistance is a suffix, I cannot roll double crits. But we still might get lucky here. We might get, you know, energy shield buff and a crit roll. So let's just do this and see what we get. Right, so here goes. Wish me luck again, guys. 20 to all attributes. That's good. Okay, it's not perfect, but that's a really good roll. And we've is that a suffix? Yeah, that's a suffix. Okay, so we're not going to get a crit roll here, unfortunately. But if we get energy shield or evasion rating increase, that would be really good. Increased armor. Okay, that's kind of trash for my build because I have no armor. But do you know what? That's a good amulet. That's a pretty damn good amulet. I think +2 attributes is of considerable value as well. In hindsight, it's a shame I didn't take a gamble maybe to get rid of that cold resistance. But as I say, for the time being, that's massively improved my build. So I'm very happy with that. So the next stage would be to quality and enhance. Generally, defense mod would be the best thing to go for here. And then in terms of the enhancement, obviously that's down to most people's builds. But generally speaking, overwhelming strike is the best for this particular build. So overwhelming strike is this one, and it gives you 20% crit hit chance and 20% crit damage bonus with more stun build up. So that's what I'm going to do next. So I've already got this ready. So increase crit chance, increase crit damage, and stun build up with crits. So we're going to instill that. And there we go. We've got a very good amulet. I don't know what the actual value of this would be. I'm going to check this now, actually, because I think that +20 might be still pretty decent. So let's have a look. It's a shame I rolled armor there, but okay, well, it's not even coming up with a price, but I would imagine that would be of decent value, to be honest with you. It might not be coming up because I haven't updated the price checker, but that's got to be worth a couple of divine at least, as it is. So overall, great crafting. I'm really happy with that. Good result. That's going to massively help in my build. I hope you learned something from this video. These instructions here, if you want to do the same craft yourself, whether that's because you want to have a play around with this to sell items or because you need it for your own build, I'll put these instructions in the description as well to save you trawling for this video to check it every time. There probably are tweaks, different ways of doing this. If you've got any suggestions, any ways that you think would improve your chances of getting the perfect amulet, then please do let me know in the comments. But otherwise, I hope that helped you guys. And until next time, take care of yourselves. GG and well played.